Hey, yo, Foxboro, what's going on? Thank you guys for chatting with me and watching today on this lovely Saturday afternoon. I guess it's a little bit evening for all of you guys on the East Coast, but here in Arizona, it is just about to be 2 p.m. So I figured why not just go live a little bit early because I've basically just been sitting here. So, let's just jump straight into it because once again I have a lot to talk about today, and I think that we should just get right to it. And first, hi Chris, what's going on? Thank you for being here as always. Today we are talking about, of course, the Patriots Bears Monday Night Football game, which I'm excited. It's their first primetime game of the year, and isn't it the second for the Bears, which is kind of crazy, but let's jump right into it at the injury reports. So they just were put out a little bit less than an hour ago. The Bears have nobody on their injury report, which is pretty crazy. Good for them. They don't have to deal with the injury bug the way the Patriots have been. So the Patriots have a bunch of players listed as questionable. Nobody is doubtful. No one is out, which is a good sign. So those that were limited today, we know that they can practice tomorrow, I think, as well, because they don't play till Monday. So this is just Saturday's latest report. We have Aguilar, Barmore, Bourne, Guy, Jennings, Jones, John Jones, and Mac Jones. Jalen Mills, Onwenu, Uche, Wade, and Wynn, all questionable for Monday, and they were all limited on Saturday. Big noteworthy thing, though, is that Damien Harris has been removed. So what seemed like they were reporting that his injury was going to be something that was going to keep him out for several weeks. So apparently that's not the case, which is pretty nice. So I guess he's good to go on Monday. And then there are some game time notes that I wanted to talk about as well. So the Patriots are currently 7.5-point favorites over the Bears in this game. I don't assume that it's going to increase or decrease over the next, day or two, but that's pretty significant given how the Patriots have been underdogs in most of the games this season so far. So kudos to them for changing that, I guess. I would assume it's more so it's indicative of the Bears more so than the Patriots, but we'll take it. Belichick tied George Halas last week with his 324th win as a head coach in the NFL. It's second of all time, so they are now tied. So if he gets this win over the Bears, he will be moved into the second place all by himself, only behind Don Shula, who has 347 wins. So he's really not that far behind. I know there's a lot of people who think that Belichick is, likely on his way out. I think that he might want to stick around and break that record. It's not that far. So we shall see. It would be pretty exciting for that to happen on Monday. And Richard Seymour is going to be honored at halftime. Obviously, we know he was just inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And he was just in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, so he's in the Hall of Fame. He's in everything right now. So that'll be pretty cool if you are going to the game. And as far as matching up with the Bears, this is going to be only the 15th meeting between the two teams, which I was kind of shocked about. But the Patriots have won the last 5 games. They're 10-3 all time over the Bears. The last time that they played was actually in October of 2018. It was actually 4 years ago yesterday. And the Bears are 0-2 in their last 2 visits to Gillette. And their last visit to Gillette was all the way in 2014. So it's been a while. Completely different teams on both sides of the ball. But I just thought those were some interesting little nuggets of info that I wanted to share with you guys. And first, I wanted to go over the key matchups in this game, which there's quite a few. People are not that excited, I guess, because it's the Bears, and the Bears have not been performing very well. But there are some interesting matchups to watch. And the first, I'm going to talk about the offense for the most part right now, and that is going to be Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi versus Eddie Jackson. So at this point, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback. They were saying that Mac was trending in the direction to be the starter on Monday. And unless something significant happens, I don't know that that's really going to change. I mean, Zappy has done great, but I think that we all know that if Mac is ready to go, then he's going to want to be out there. So, based off of the information that we've been given over the past week or so, I would assume it's going to be Mac, but we shall see. So Jackson is he's a safety on the Bears, in case you did not know. He's their best secondary player on their defense right now. He has 3 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles on the year, so he's definitely a turnover machine. And this is where you start to question Zappy. So there's a lot of people, of course, that are feeling the Zappy fever, and he's done great, and he deserves to be applauded for what he's done, because I don't think there are very many teams that are equipped with a backup or a third stringer that would be capable of doing what Zappy has done so far. So, not taking anything away from him, but he has not played against a really good secondary in his 2.5 starts. So having a guy like this in their defensive backfield, I think, would be a little bit problematic for him, especially with throwing the football. And that's something that he hasn't really been given the opportunity to do. So we will have to keep an eye on that for sure if he is given the green light to play. And then there is, on the other side, if Mac plays, Mac has had issues with turning the ball over when he did play in the first 3 games. We know that, what was it? He has 5 interceptions, and I think, was it 3 or more of them were when he was trying to throw to Devontae Parker. So this is a guy that you probably don't want to throw to if you're trying to avoid that. So that is definitely going to be something to watch as well, because I would assume that Mac is going to want to throw the football. They are going to want to get the receivers involved, especially when you have Tyquan Thornton back. And I feel like I'm going to be one of those people that's going to be really nervous watching Mac throw the football, especially if he throws to Parker, just given what we've seen this season. So you don't want to give Jackson any opportunities at all in this game, no matter who the quarterback is. I don't know who he will be covering, but don't give them any opportunities. They've been a lot better with turnovers in the last few games, so hopefully they can just stay on that track and not go back to how it was at the beginning of the year, especially when you have this, Eddie Jackson in the backfield. So I did see too that the Bears passing defense is ranked 14th in DVOA. They're 4th in yards allowed and 4th in passing touchdowns against them. So it's going to be interesting how much they're going to try to implement the passing game. We know that they've been trying to stick to the ground. So I'm not sure what they're going to do in this game, but we will have to see. That's what I think is kind of making this game a little bit more exciting. I think, there's not a lot of hype surrounding this game, given the fact that the Patriots are 3-3 and the Bears are 2-4, and it's a Monday night game that people aren't really that excited about. But I think for Patriots fans, there's some elements that are exciting, and I think part of that might be if Mac returns. So let's see what you guys are saying. Ray said Mac hasn't had the protection Zappy has had, though. That is true, which is what Chris said too. The offensive line especially has been. What are you doing, Rams? She's got the zoomies behind me. It's improved so much since Mac was gone, and I think that they are now trending as one of the top offensive lines in the league. So that's pretty exciting, and that's a huge change for Mac. So I definitely agree, and I think that could be a big benefit for Mac, especially coming off of an ankle sprain and coming back pretty soon, because most people were not thinking he would be back within 3 or 4 games. So I think that they said that the earliest he would come back was 4 weeks, and tomorrow would be 4. So I'm glad to see that too, because that was something that was making me nervous. I mean, you had Mac get hurt because of the offensive line. You got Brian Hoyer got hurt because of the offensive line. So I'm thankful that nothing bad happened with Zappy. So moving on, we have Roquan Smith versus the Patriots O-line and their run game. Smith has already had, so his stats this year. So we know that he requested a trade at the beginning, well, I don't know, like a week or so ago, and nothing happened. I think he might have even requested a trade. Was it before the season? I don't know. Regardless, they didn't. I actually wrote about the Patriots and if they would, I think I did. Did I write about it? I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know. If the Patriots would be interested in him. I think you know what? I think I scrapped that article. I was going to write about it and then I didn't. So far this year, he does have an interception that he returned for 18 yards. He has 2 passes defended, 1.5 sacks, 66 tackles, which is a high. It's crazy. 3 tackles for a loss and 2 quarterback hits. So definitely going to be needing to pay attention to him. He's definitely one of their, better defensive pieces in Chicago. So, he's a mobile linebacker. He has a wide range. He can easily just shut down the run game. So the offensive line is going to need to cover him and protect, make sure he can't get to Mac or Zappy. And it's going to be interesting to see how the offensive line does in this game, especially with how Isaiah Wynn has been playing. That is definitely going to be an added element that I'm a little bit nervous about. And I guess he's not feeling the love either. I don't know if you guys saw, but apparently Wynn deleted all of the Patriots references from his Instagram account, his bio, and any pictures. So I don't know what the drama is there. He's apparently dealing with a shoulder injury, so I don't know, but lots of drama there. But anyway, so when I was reading about Roquan Smith, I think it was on Patriots.com, they were talking about how they think that the Patriots run game should just run right at him, and the offensive line can take advantage of the size and power that they have over him, since he is considered a smaller, undersized linebacker, which I always think is kind of just funny because I think, the game is changing and the linebackers are getting like smaller than what they traditionally have been, but they're faster. So, whatever that means in the big scheme of things in the NFL. But yeah, so it's possible that might be their best shot at continuing the run game, because we know that they're going to want to establish that run game early and they're going to want to rely on it throughout this game, because they're facing another weak run defense. So there is that. Then we have Cole Kmet versus Kyle Duggar. Nothing too fancy here. He's just their tight end, basically their only other option in the passing game. And we know that Kyle Duggar has been covering tight ends this season, so I don't really anticipate Cole Kmet being that big of an issue. Other than Darnell Mooney, he's really Fields has only been looking Cole Kmet's way a little. He only has 10 catches for 116 yards, so nothing amazing, nothing scary for the Patriots defense to worry about, but you definitely want to make sure that you're shutting them down as much as possible while also trying to force Fields to throw, because that is an issue with him. And I'm going to talk about Fields in just a second. Yeah, see, Ray is saying run up the gut. Smith is a monster at stopping outside runs. So that's what people are saying. They're saying just, run. I mean, and that's the thing is, like, Patriots.com was saying to run at him. So we shall see. They're going to figure it out. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what the game plan is if Mac is playing at quarterback, because you could tell that they definitely changed things from the beginning of the season to accommodate then having Zappy in. So I'm wondering if that's going to continue if Mac is in, because I think that what they were doing with Zappy is a lot of what could be beneficial for them using with Mac. And I think that's a lot of why the offense was struggling at the beginning of the year, is they kept trying to bring in these things that they weren't doing before or wasn't working throughout the preseason. And it just, Remy, get out of here. She has the zoomies so much right now. It's a little bit crazy. Anyway, so I'm hoping that they kind of get back to just like their bread and butter offense, what works for them and what clearly worked with the offense led by Mac Jones last year. I don't want to see any more of this forcing this new identity, trying to get so far away from whatever Josh McDaniels was doing, because I mean, it was working. So, like I've said a million times, if it wasn't broke, then don't fix it. So, Chris says to bench Wynn, and Ray agrees with him. We shall see. I'm going to talk about that side of the defensive line in just a second. And I mean, the Bears side. Raw94 says Justin Jones was trying to start something. If you want to read about that, I expressed my feelings for that on Musket Fire. So I wasn't going to give any more attention to what he was saying, but I just felt so inclined to talk about it because I would like to think that he wasn't being serious, but I think he was, and that just makes it even worse, I think. And yeah, so if you want to read my thoughts on what Justin Jones had to say about the Patriots, then please go look at that on Musket. So check it out. Moving on, we have Trent Brown versus Robert Quinn. So Quinn is a 3-time Pro Bowler. We know his name. Even if you don't pay attention to the Bears, you know Robert Quinn's name. He only has 1 sack and 13 quarterback pressures this year. So far he is already, on a slow start for, what we've seen from him from his entire career. Since he sticks to the left side, he'll be matched up with Trent Brown. But this is what we saw last week, where the Browns figured out that Wynn was more vulnerable on the right side, and they moved Myles Garrett over there, and he ended up just completely dominating Wynn on the few times that he was on the right side. So it's possible, if Wynn continues to struggle, if he is in this game over Cannon, then they might move Quinn over to him because they're going to win probably 9 out of 10 times, and unfortunately. So we'll have to keep eye on that as well. Trent, we do have to make sure, I'm speaking to you, Trent, please stop with the penalties, because you got 2 penalties last week. We need to clean that up. We need to stop with the offensive penalties. We do not need any offensive linemen getting penalties and slowing the offense down. We don't need it. So I can't remember if they were for holding or false start. I think they might have been one for both. But yeah, don't give them any opportunities to force the Patriots offense back. So please be careful, Trent. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. Jonathan Jones versus Darnell Mooney. I had Darnell Mooney on my fantasy team last year, but he's just not doing anything this year, and I don't know what exactly is the problem. I'm guessing it's just a combination of the Bears just being a hot mess. I know a lot of people like to rag on Justin Fields, but I feel like that's just not very nice. I'm not going to do that. That's not the kind of gal I am. So Jonathan Jones missed last week's game. It's looking like he might be playing. I don't know. I believe, yes, he was listed as a limited participant on Saturday. So I guess we might find out a little bit more about his status tomorrow. Because if he is playing, it is, assumed that he will be on Darnell Mooney, because there is really only him and Cole Kmet that are catching passes. There are some random players on the Bears that have a couple touchdowns and whatever, but that was just basically probably because the other 2 options were not open, and they haven't really faced a lot of powerful offenses this year. And not that the Patriots necessarily are, but they have a ton of guys who can stop whatever the Bears offense is doing. So I'm not really too concerned about this. Even if Jonathan Jones isn't playing, it's not an ideal situation, because I think the others might struggle. We haven't seen I'm sorry, my cat is so distracting. We haven't seen the other guys in the secondary match up with a guy that's as potentially explosive as Darnell Mooney can be. He's very fast, and he does have 17 catches for 241 yards this season. So I think that if Jonathan Jones, it concerns me a little bit more. Drunk says, Bears suck. This is a blowout for y'all. That would be awesome, and I would really love to see that. That is what most people are saying. Even when you look at the predictions from, the insiders, analysts, whatever. Rams, stop. most of them are predicting a big win for the Patriots, and a lot of people are saying a blowout. I don't like jinxing. So, yeah. Chris says, I was getting worried as there was no cat sighting on the show. It's because she's just got the zoomies. She's just running around. But yeah, I'm trying to keep her away because she keeps trying to stick her face in my John Cena cup because I have my water in here and she keeps trying to drink it. And I don't appreciate it. Moving on, the Patriots run defense versus the Bears running backs and Justin Fields. So Chicago is second in the league, averaging 178 yards per game. And they are seventh in the league with 5.2 yards per carry. So they have David Montgomery, who is back from injury, and they have Khalil Herbert, who is more of an explosive guy on the field, more so than Montgomery. Montgomery is more of the, I'd say he's probably like more of like the Ramondre on the Bears. He's averaging 4 yards per carry. Herbert is averaging 6.4 yards per carry. So I'm assuming that they're probably going to go back and forth with them. That's kind of what they've done when both of them are healthy. It's like what the Packers have been trying to do with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, or the Browns with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So they're kind of going to do the exact same thing, I assume. But then we have to be worried about Justin Fields as well, because he has 54 carries for 282 yards and he's averaging 5.2 yards. So this is another Lamar Jackson situation. This is another Tua situation. This is going to be another good test for the Patriots defense because they do have to face a bunch more mobile quarterbacks in the upcoming weeks. So, they did a pretty good job at shutting Lamar down in the first half of that game a couple weeks ago, but then they just let him go completely off in the second half. So definitely do not want to see that happen with Justin Fields. And they struggled a bit last week. Well, no, actually, they did a really good job at slowing down the run last week against the Browns. They only allowed 70 rushing yards. Chubb only had 56 on 12 carries, so that's not good. And the defense has not allowed a touchdown by a running back this season. So want to make sure to keep that going. I keep getting itchy. And we'll have to pay attention to if Lawrence Guy and Christian Barmore play, because if they can't play, and if you guys are not aware, they are the main run stuffers on the defense. If neither of them can play, which I would assume Guy is more inclined to play than Barmore, but I haven't really seen a whole lot about the seriousness of Barmore's knee injury. I don't think I really saw anything about that all week. So I feel like that might be a sign that he's not doing the best. I don't know, but last week Gotcha and Carl Davis kind of picked that up for them. So we'll have to pay attention to those guys. I would expect that we're going to see a similar performance from them with how they were last week when Barmore went down and Guy didn't play last week, I don't believe. So those are two guys that you'll want to watch also. Let's see what you guys are saying. Drunk says, I got $5 saying Belichick trades Bailey Zappi for a second round in the offseason. Really? Does that mean that you think that he's going to pick up another backup? Like in the draft, or what's he gonna do? Ron94 says, lately we've been stopping the run, but we struggle with running quarterbacks. Yeah, and so that's what I'm concerned, because especially if the secondary is able to take away Fields' options to throw to, then he's just gonna start running the football, and they haven't been that good at that. So like I said, they were great at stopping Lamar, but it was only for the first half. So if they're going to be successful, it needs to be throughout the entire game. And that is something I'm just a little worried that is not going to happen, because if we look back historically, it has not worked out for them over the last, even if you're just looking at the last two seasons, it's not been something that has worked in their favor. So Drunk says, Justin Fields honestly should do well in this game. I like this matchup for him. Still have the Bears losing though. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people from what I've seen. So I said that a lot of people have been saying this is going to be a blowout, but then you'll have the random people that are thinking it's going to be a lot closer, and that Justin Fields is going to have a great day on the ground. Not so much in, the passing game, but on the ground, which, I mean, that's not shocking to me. If that happens, then I would not be at all surprised. So, yeah, I'm not anticipating a blowout, but that's just how I am. Like, even if they were going up against a team that hasn't won a single game, like, I would be feeling the same. That's just how I am. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm not coming into it with any expectations other than, hoping that the Patriots definitely do win, because that's what I need. So speaking of Fields, we have to talk about the pass rush versus him as well. So not only are they going to have to try and stop him from just grabbing the football and running, but they're going to be a real threat, I would say, to Fields with their pass rush, because oh my gosh, that poor kid, that poor quarterback is going through absolute hell so far this season. He is with the lead. He's the league worst with 122 yards per game through the air. So we know that he is a guy that likes to run it on the ground, but they also don't give him they don't call a lot of plays that are around him running the football. So, I don't know. It's hard for me to say like great things about the Bears, because I just feel like Justin Fields is just in such a bad position. I felt so bad for him when they drafted him, because you could tell he just did not want to be there. And that always sucks. I mean, obviously you have your preferences, but I think he was definitely disappointed, and he's just not thriving in Chicago despite the change at coach and whatever. But it is what it is, I guess. So he has only attempted 115 passes so far this season, and he has been sacked 23 times already. So that's 20% of all of his dropbacks have resulted in a sack. So the fact that Judon is doing well, Wise is doing well, I would assume that they're going to be able to get to him pretty easily. And I feel for him already, because that's a lot. I mean, through 6 games, I mean, this is like a Russell Wilson situation in Seattle, where they're just not helping him with their offensive line. Chris says, if a team did offer a second rounder for Zappy, would you take it? Oh, if you're talking about right now, I wouldn't right now. I mean, I guess maybe because Garrett, they brought back Garrett and he's already played like as a starter. So I guess maybe he could be a good option as backup, but I don't know. See, like my problem is just that I worry that Mac is maybe not completely 100%. So getting rid of a guy that is comfortable with the offense and can help you win games makes me nervous. If we're talking about the offseason, that's a question I can't answer right now. Ron94 predicts that Fields is going to throw a pick that changes the game. Hey, from your words to the football god's ears. Chris says that he would be very tempted on that trade. Ron94 says, as a fan, I want to win, but I also want to see a good game. Yeah, and I think especially with the primetime games, they haven't been that great. So I don't blame you. I want to see a great game too, but blowouts, or at least a game that is obviously a Patriots win that you can watch and just have fun and not be stressed, can still be a good game. I mean, it would just be nice to have a Patriots blowout. I don't know. It's just, given how the season has gone so far, I would take it. Drunk says, I like the Patriots pass rush, but it might be a bad thing this game because him running loose is a bad scenario for y'all. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying I'm a little bit nervous about that, because, even if he doesn't have the best numbers offensively, or he doesn't have weapons, he has legs. So, I mean, you don't have over, nearly 300 yards on the ground as a quarterback if you're not good at running on the ground. I mean, you can get beaten every day with a quarterback like that. And he says that he definitely has the green light to scramble. Yeah. And take advantage of the Patriots in having that weakness. I mean, that is one of the key weaknesses that the Patriots are going to have in this game. So Chicago's going to have to try and take advantage of it. So moving on, we have some of the players specifically to watch. And first we have Jacoby Myers, Mr. Reliable. I have another article out about him today where he talks about a Patriots quarterback that saved his career. It's a story that he hasn't shared, and he said that he doesn't think that many people even know. So I thought that was a really cool little tidbit that he shared, and I think who he talks about might be a little bit surprising to you guys. So I would appreciate it if you go read that on Musket Fire. I'm yet to tweet it out, but if you just go to musketfire.com, then you will find it. So the key point for this, Jacoby Myers coming off healthy. Obviously, we know he's going to be a threat no matter if it's Jones or Zappe at quarterback. Myers is good with either of them and becomes their security blanket, which I am here for. Andrew Callahan tweeted out the other day, I don't think it was today, I think it was a couple days ago. He said, Bears slot defenders are allowing 10.8 yards per pass attempt, the second most in the NFL. Opponents seem to be picking on rookie cornerback Kyler Gordon, who has 126 passer rating allowed right now. So expect a big game from Jacoby Myers is basically what he's saying. And I think that if Mac is the guy in at quarterback, I wouldn't be surprised if he favors Myers for sure, because we haven't seen that struggle between them. We've seen the struggle with Mac throwing to Devontae Parker. We've seen the struggle with throws to Nelson Aguilar, who we're not sure if he's going to play anyway. So Jacoby Myers is probably going to be that go-to guy. And I'm really hoping to see more from Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Especially if Mac is in, because we know that really strong connection that both Mac and Zappe have with Henry, but obviously Hunter Henry had the best season of his career last year, and that was with Mac. So we also have Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. As I said at the beginning, talking about the injury report, it looks like Damian Harris is going to be good to go on Monday, which is good for Ramondre Stevenson, because as great as Ramondre Stevenson has been, you have to try and be careful with how much you are using him, because you don't want to risk injury, especially when he was just coming off a game of 161 yards. Like, that was fantastic, but I just get nervous because it's more opportunity for him to get injured or tired, whatever. So they are facing a poor run defense. They are 29th ranked rush defense. The Bears are. They're allowing 163 yards per game, and they are 24th in yards per attempt at 4.8. So very similar to last week's game, where they obviously Stevenson did great. He had, I forget how many carries for 76 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. He was involved in the passing game as well. But the Browns had the worst run defense in the league, and he was only able to get 76 yards. So I think we might see a little switch up with that. We're going to probably see them splitting snaps again, especially if Harris is still kind of teetering on being healthy or not. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Thornton involved in the backfield again, because he was last week and he actually got a touchdown. So that would be nice to see. Take advantage of his speed and his length, because he's obviously bigger than those two guys. So it's likely not going to matter who the quarterback is. They're going to want to establish the run game early, and they're probably going to try to use it throughout the entirety of the game. I just think we might see some similar stuff to what we saw at the beginning of the year, which was splitting of the snaps between Stevenson and Harris. For the most part, they were kind of equal in every game. But because we don't know exactly how Harris is dealing with, especially since I think he's been a full participant, or at least mostly limited this week. They're probably going to want to monitor that and make sure that he's not coming straight back and being overloaded. So also, whoever is in at quarterback, like I said a million times, it looks like it's going to be Mac Jones, but we haven't been given that definite answer at this point. But I would say whoever it is, you're definitely going to want to watch them. The Bears are 4th in the league as far as how much they are allowing in the passing game, which is 178.78 yards. And I think this could be a good game for Mac to get acclimated because of taking advantage of a poor run defense. If you want to make sure that he doesn't have to scramble too much, or just his mobility in general, if you want to like watch out for that, I think that they might try and stick to the run game for the most part. and not have to worry about throwing through the air. I wouldn't be mad at seeing it, because I think that the coverage is better, the offensive line is better. I think that is going to just allow Mac to thrive, and we're going to see a big difference between what we saw from him at the beginning of the year to what we're going to see in week 7. And it would be kind of nice to see that again, because we've seen that they're not allowing Zappe really to throw deep. So it would be nice if we could see that from either of them in this game. And I wanted to talk about this too. So Doug Kide, who works I think at PFF now, he posted stats lining up between Zappe and Mac Jones. And the reason I think this is relevant, and I saved it, is because of how many people don't want Mac Jones to be in at quarterback again, which is very shocking to me. I understand that people are excited about what we've seen from Zappe, but we also have to remember that he is a rookie and he's faced a couple easier teams, especially defensively. So, you have to, be careful what you wish for. So these stats, I don't know if I should read them. Let me see which ones are. Okay, so the average depth of target for Bailey Zappe is 6.7. Mac Jones is 10.4. Big time throws, we haven't seen any from Bailey Zappe. Mac Jones is 5.8%. Turnover worthy plays, which is the one that a lot of people have been focusing on, we've only seen 1.2% in Bailey Zappe, but we saw 5.1% from Mac. And I think the context of that is exactly what you guys have already said in the chat, which was the offensive line improvement since Mac was starting in the first 3 games. So I think that will be a big difference in this game if Mac plays. Play action percentage is huge too. We've seen 31.6% with Zappe on the field and only 10.8% when Mac is on the field. And that is something Mac has talked about in the press also when he's been talked to in the media during his availability. Mac has said that he wanted to have more play action passes. It's something that he said he liked in college and he would like that to be more involved. So given how, that's 3 times more that they were calling those types of plays with Zappe, it would be nice if we saw more of those with Mac Jones. I mean, especially if he says that, if he feels like that's something that he's comfortable with and thinks that he can be successful with, then I'm all for it. And deep ball percentage, we have Bailey Zappe at 8.6%, where Mac has had 20.6%. So again, you gotta look really deep into what we're seeing from both of them. I think that this would be kind of a difficult game for Zappe to play, but I think he could get it done if we needed to, but it might be a totally different game. It might not be a blowout scenario. So we will have to see. I just thought that was interesting just because, it's not just coming from the media at this point about wanting Zappe to stay. It's a lot of Patriots fans that are hoping for Zappe to stay. So really interesting. Drunk says, my only player to watch this game is Roquan Smith to see if he gets trucked for the 5th game in a row. Yeah. And it kind of makes you wonder too, is he purposely trying to perform badly? Do you think? I'm not someone who believes in that. Especially because if he's trying to be traded, he would want to be playing at his best, but because he wanted to be traded so badly, would he perform badly because then he thinks that they might trade him? I don't know. Ron94 says Jacoby is good. Doesn't drop many balls. Yeah, I think he's going to be a big comfort for no matter who the quarterback is. While I'm on on a Patriot stream, can I ask how are you on Mac Jones being the guy? So are you a Bears fan, Drunk? Is that what we're seeing? I appreciate you being here, but who's your fan? Who's your team? I haven't seen it. I agree with what Chris is saying. He says I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's not the guy. I think that it's just been a contrast between what we've seen from Mac at the beginning to what we saw from Bailey Zappe. But if you there's a reason why I just went over those stats comparing how each of them have performed. And yes, there is a big contrast between the two, but I think that people need to consider the teams that Mac played versus the teams that Zappe played and the difference in how the offense overall is performing, and especially the offensive line. So if you don't have any protection from your offensive line, the quarterback is not going to perform well, no matter how good of a quarterback they are. So that is a huge thing that has benefited Zappe. And that is not something that Mac had the luxury of through the first 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Sorry. So I think that that's a huge thing. And Belichick has historically said that at least the first month or so is kind of an extension of the preseason. And so if we're going to go with that benefit of the doubt for the Patriots kind of struggling through the first 4 games, then we kind of, you can't be condemning Mac so harshly for his performance, because the entire team is still trying to figure things out. And I feel like they're kind of more in a good place now, like not just the offense, but I think Matt Patricia has even done a far better job in his not official but official position of offensive coordinator. So I think there's been a lot of positive changes that have gone on through weeks 4 through 6 that are going to be really great for Max to come back in. And so unless he comes back in and he somehow is playing exactly the same at the beginning or worse, then I'm not concerned about it. Chris agrees. He says, I have seen nothing that suggests to me he is not the guy. Losing your quarterback coach after a year 1 is not easy for Mac, and then trying to learn a new offense. I agree. Drunk says he is not a Bears fan. He says, I know this is blasphemous, but I don't have a team. Rams left my city and I refuse to follow them to LA. I do not blame you. Although I guess in a way that kind of sucks just because they just won the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be tough to have a team that you rooted for leave, and then like, what do you do? I mean, it's not like St. Louis and LA are close, so it's like, I mean, that kind of takes the fun out of it too. So I don't blame you. Let's see. Roquan Smith's own GM said in the offseason that Smith is not worth the money. He is not Brian Urlacher, is what he said. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that is, I mean, I guess maybe he's just not as good as he thinks he is. I don't know. That's pretty harsh, though. Moving on. So we also have to talk about Matthew Judon, Dietrich Wise. Those are some players on the defense that we'll have to watch. Okay, my cat is back. So since Justin Fields is being sacked so much, his offensive line is not protecting him. I assume that we are going to see big games from Matthew Judon and Dietrich Wise, who are the leading guys in getting to opposing quarterbacks. They're going to be the main two working to contain Fields and forcing him to throw the football, expose his weaknesses. Between the two of them, they do have 11 sacks on the season. Dietrich Wise is on the path to have the best season of his career since his rookie year, so that is huge. And because of how well the defense is performing in general, but especially in rushing the passer, then Matthew Judon has not had to be the sole guy in being productive. So that is nice. Also, I know that some people were concerned because he is not playing nearly as many snaps as he did last year, but I think people need to remember that he was burned out at the end of the year. And I think that's not just him, but some other players as well. And I think that's a huge reason why the defense fell off, especially in the playoffs. So this is good. It is good that these guys are performing so well that Judon can kind of just sit back and let them play and not have to worry that he needs to be on the field for every single snap, because if he's not, then the defense is basically not there. So I think that's a good sign. Drunk says, I was critical of y'all getting Judon, but he's been a monster on the Patriots. Yes. He was one of the players I was most excited about because of, you know, the potential that he had and the I mean, he's definitely not played as great, I guess. I feel like that he came alive on the Patriots. I don't know what that is, but yeah, he's been great. Probably the biggest steal for Belichick to have gotten in free agency last year. It's another thing that I sit back sometimes and I'm just watching him play and I'm like, how did the league allow Belichick to sign this man? Like, how did you let this happen? Chris says, come on, Matt Judon, I could do with a good performance from you for the Patriots and my fantasy team. Yes, I have the Patriots defense. I know I am someone who does not like to have Patriots players at all on my fantasy team, but I had to pick them up. I think I have Nick Folk too, but now I'm scared because I mentioned it. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. And then last but not least, we have Tyquan Thornton, who we finally saw show us what he can do last week. He played in 40 snaps last week compared to 25 against the Lions. So I'm assuming, he's trending upwards. And if Nelson Aguilar can't go, then Thornton's probably going to have another game similar to last week against the Browns. He had 4 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. Also had 3 rushes for 16 yards and a touchdown. They can use his speed and his separation to their advantage, and they can use him to throw downfield. They can use him out of the backfield. They can basically do whatever they want with Thornton. And I think that's really exciting for no matter who the quarterback is. And I'm excited to see what Mack and him can do, because we haven't seen that yet. We've only seen Thornton with Zappy. So I think that is going to be a really interesting part to watch as well. And that's all I have, guys. If you guys have any more questions or comments, please let me know. Raw94 says, just imagine if we got another pass rusher with Judon. I feel like we're getting there, if we're being honest, because Dietrich Wise is getting up there. He's like the number 2 guy right now. And when Judon isn't doing it, then it's Wise. And so I think we're going to be okay. I feel like we're kind of getting that from Wise this season. And when healthy, we have Uche, we have Jennings, we have Mac Wilson, who has made some plays. We have Carl Davis, who's made some plays. So I think it's definitely in the works. But if you're talking about like straight away production, like the way Judon is, then yeah, I can't imagine like a Judon and a Myles Garrett or something, or an Aaron Donald and a Judon. That would be insane. And see, Ray agrees with me because he said Uche and Jennings, yeah. Chris says, should Nelson Aguilar be worried over his place on the team? I'm kind of torn on this because there have been rumors, I don't know, for the past couple of weeks, I think, about his status with the team, but also Bourne's. And I think Aguilar might be a tough sell to try and trade because of his contract. But also, I think you kind of have to see a few more games from Thornton before you just completely move on from Aguilar. And we're not really seeing Bourne used a lot either. So it's like, if they're not going to use Bourne, then there's Aguilar, which we've seen him have a good game this year. So I don't know. I think it's really unclear at this point. There's only like hints and rumors and chatter online about who's going to be possibly traded and whatnot. It's possible the Patriots don't do any trading. They might not do anything. I mean, they have 6 wide receivers on the team right now. I don't see any reason to get rid of any of them. I'd rather them have too many than not have enough, which is something that they had been struggling with for the last couple of seasons. So I would be completely comfortable with them just taking all 6, if I'm being honest. If Bill won't put him in the doghouse, I will and would, and Raw 94 said. See, I don't dislike Aguilar. He has his moments where he's great. I think that when he's given the opportunity, he can be good. So I would like to see Kendrick Bourne involved more. So it's hard to figure out what is best right now. Chris says, non-Patriots fans, did the 49ers get a bargain, or did they overpay for Christian McCaffrey? They overpaid. I mean, I know I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm saying they overpaid. Mostly because, one, they don't really need him. I mean, I know that they don't have a Christian McCaffrey type of running back on the team, but I don't think that they were only a running back away from being a winning team. That's ridiculous to me, especially when you have Deebo Samuel. I mean, he can do it all. But yeah, no, I think they gave up too much for him, given the fact that he can't stay healthy for an entire season. This is something I wanted to look up, actually. I wanted to look up if he's ever played an entire season in the NFL, because I wasn't sure, because we know how injured he constantly is. Let's see. And he's only 26. Okay, so Oh, wow. You know what's actually kind of crazy is his first 3 seasons, he played every game. So he's only been he's been injury prone the last, in 2020 and 2021. He only played in 3 games in 2020, which I think that was the year he got injured. Last year, he only played in 7 games. And this year, he started in every game. So to me, it's a gamble. I mean, when you can keep him on the field, he gets 1,000 yards. When he's not, if he's injured, then you're paying him to do nothing. So, yeah, I think it's a gamble. And if they feel like they're only a running back away from being a contender, then I guess more power to them. But, they lose Garoppolo at the end of the year. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they have a mobile quarterback, so it's like I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. Yeah. Those stats are bad for the last 2 seasons. That is one of that's what I mean. Like, I think didn't he like tear his ACL or something in 2020? I can't remember. Yeah, I want to say he tore his ACL or something in 2020 because he was put on IR September 23rd in 2020. And then he was placed on IR in October 2021. Came back in November, and he was placed again on IR on November 30th. So, yeah, I want to say he tore his ACL. Does anyone know? I'm going to have to check. Let's see. Did he tear his ACL? Because I'm like, tears ACL. Is that his injury history? Let's look at that. His injury history. Oh, chance of injury. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is on draftsharks.com. Chance of injury in 2022 was an 84%. He has a 10% chance of injuring himself per game. That's crazy. Okay. Okay, so in September of 2020, he suffered a right high ankle sprain during week 2's loss to the Bucs, and he missed 6 games. Then in November of 2020, he injured his shoulder, missed 4 games. Then December, his thigh tightened up ahead of the game, and he missed 4 more games. So those are 3 different injuries in 2020. He strained his hamstring in week 3 in 2021 and missed 5 games. Then he hurt his ankle in week 12 and was placed on injured reserve and was out for the remainder of the season in November. So, yeah, he's done a whole lot of injury. That is crazy. I'm sorry. 10% chance every game, 84% chance. That's crazy. Chris also said, should we start to take the Jets as a serious threat? Yes, I think so. I think so more defensively than offensively. I'm not sure that I'm too concerned about their offense, but I don't think that they have faced really good defenses since we're here. Jets schedule. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to be there. Let's see. Okay, so they faced the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, Steelers, Dolphins, Green Bay. So, yeah, I don't think they've really faced good defenses. We know that, was it against Miami when we had Zach Wilson come back? I don't think it was against Pittsburgh. Oh, no, he did. Okay, he came back against Pittsburgh. Okay, so he's been back for the last 3 games. So the first 3 games, I think, was Joe Flacco. And they had 2 losses, and they couldn't do anything with Flacco offensively. Barely beat Cleveland. Pittsburgh, though, like, wishy-washy offense, defense not that great. They faced Miami with like their 3rd string quarterback, and I don't know, their defense apparently didn't do anything. And Green Bay, we saw what we could do against them. So I don't know. I think that New England is probably going to be one of their tougher defenses, if I'm being honest. And after they play us on my birthday, which is October 30th, they play the Patriots on that day. They then face Buffalo. So that's going to be an interesting couple of weeks for them. And then they face us again after their bye. So yeah, I think they're definitely someone we need to keep an eye on, maybe more so than the Dolphins at this point, because the Dolphins are struggling so much with their quarterback situation. But yeah, I think they're more of a threat offensively than defensively, if I'm being honest. So anyway, that's all I have to say today. I will be back on Tuesday, I think, hopefully, for the Bears Pats recap show here with E2G Sports. I will be live on my channel at 5 p.m. Also follow me on Twitter at smarshxo. You can watch me on there. You can watch me on the E2G Sports Network YouTube channel. Subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I would love it if you would. Thank you guys for being here with me and always chatting in the chat, talking with me in the chat. I always appreciate talking to you guys, so I'm not just sitting here for nearly an hour talking to myself. So thank you, Ray, Ron94, Chris. We got, who else do we have in here? Drunk was in here. Whatever your real name is, sir. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week. Go Pats!